Tonight, the funding fight for 9/11 first responders continues. We speak with one of the leading advocates for those American heroes who are battling at Congress to do the right thing. Then, as we get ready for Robert Mueller to testify on Capitol Hill this Wednesday, a member of Bill Clinton's defense team during the impeachment battle will join us in the studio to weigh in. Also, as President Trump plays the race card yet again, we're going to show you how Trump has been doing this for decades. French. Well, tonight we are premiering our new look. A new set, new graphics, new lighting, the works. And it is happening on certainly a big news week, so the timing, as they say, perfect. Robert Mueller, he's going to testify before two different House panels this Wednesday. Former special counsel, he's slated to spend 3 hours before the Judiciary Committee and 2 more hours before the Intelligence Committee in back-to-back hearings. Now, tomorrow, the Senate set to vote on whether or not to extend the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund to make sure it never runs out of money. And that is where we start tonight. The House recently voted by an overwhelming margin to extend funding until the year 2092. That fund, it has recently been depleted and benefits, they were being slashed. Plus, Congress, they had to extend it several times, so it was never permanent. This new bill, it would fix all of that, and has more than 70 sponsors, so it's expected to easily pass the Senate and get signed by the president as early as this week. But it had to overcome a political hurdle to even get to this point. And that hurdle, it was put up by these two men, two Republican senators, Rand Paul of Kentucky and Mike Lee of Utah. Now, both, they profess to be fiscal conservatives, but I should note, each of them voted for the president's tax cuts that will add trillions of dollars to the deficit, never asking how it will get paid for. And the chart tells the story. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says that the 9/11 fund, it'll cost roughly at most $10 billion over the next 10 years. Now, I want you to compare that to the Trump tax cuts, which are expected to explode the federal deficit by nearly $2 trillion over the next decade. And yes, you heard me right, that's trillion with a T. Now, take a listen to Rand Paul here on the Senate floor explaining what he's concerned about.
We have a $22 trillion debt. We're adding debt at about $1 trillion a year. And therefore, any new spending that we are approaching, any new program that's going to have the longevity of 70, 80 years should be offset by cutting spending that's less valuable.
Now, that line of argument, and I find it very specious at best, it caused Jon Stewart, a leading advocate and for a while now for the first responders, to go on to Fox News of all places to blast the senator. Take a listen.
It's absolutely outrageous, and you'll pardon me if I'm not impressed in any way by Rand Paul's fiscal responsibility virtue signaling. Rand Paul presented tissue paper avoidance of the $1.5 trillion tax cut that added hundreds of billions of dollars to our deficit. And now he stands up at the last minute after 15 years of blood, sweat, and tears from the 9/11 community to say that it's all over now. Now we're going to balance the budget on the backs of the 9/11 first responder community.
Now, before we get to our first guest tonight, who's been working probably closer than anyone with not just Stewart, but the affected population for years, I want to show you some heartbreaking numbers that hopefully will put a human face on this tragedy. 343 New York City firefighters, they died on that horrific day nearly 18 years ago. Since then, 200 have passed away, all from 9/11 related illnesses. Kevin Nolan, Richard Driscoll, they each passed away just this month. They were the 199th and 200th heroes to perish since the towers came down. Plus, by the 20th anniversary of the attacks, the number of people expected to die from 9/11 related illnesses is expected to surpass the number of people who actually died on September 11th itself. John Feal, he joins me now. He, a 9/11 first responder, and he is the founder and president of the Feel Good Foundation. I'm curious, John, as we sit here today on the eve of the vote tomorrow, are you cautiously optimistic given all the twists and turns you've gone through over all these many years?
Well, Juan, thank you for having me. Listen, if I wasn't optimistic, I wouldn't be at my golf outing golfing and enjoying a good round of golf with 9/11 responders and widows and stuff. I'd be in D.C. whipping Republicans to make sure they got on board. But I'm more than confident that tomorrow around 2:30, 3 o'clock, we're going to get a bill passed. And I'll bet my one kidney on it that we get this done tomorrow. And for some God-forsaken reason that we didn't, trust me, I'll get arrested tomorrow if something goes south. But I don't think anything bad's going to happen. We're going to get a bill passed. And, Mitch McConnell has kept his word. And even though Rand Paul and Mike Lee are going to put up amendments, they don't have the numbers to stop our bill.
You've been there, I think, 281 times to Capitol Hill, along with other people on the front line on this issue. But, John, believe me, I'm as cynical as the next guy. I understand there's some things that we should fight about. Take the morality out of this, okay? Because clearly it's on your side and on the guys who have given so much. But I don't get the politics for the Lees or the Pauls or for the other guys. I don't know there's a constituency out there who says, screw these guys. Maybe they're from New York or whatever else. Let's not give them the funding. Can you explain to me and our audience why we're sitting here in 2019 and you're still got your fingers crossed that they're finally going to do the right thing? What is the political play to oppose what is just right on its face?
Yeah, listen, if you don't support the bill on its merits, I respect that. That's just different ideologies. But when you cherry pick and choose when you want to be a fiscal conservative hawk, that's when I have a problem. Rand Paul was the 51st vote on Trump's $1 trillion tax cut, and Mike Lee supported that bill as well. And that bill added $1 trillion to the deficit. So be true to your colors, be true to your word. And these men are bottom feeders, and I'm not impressed by the way they politic or their leadership. This bill wasn't going to get them kicked out of their state by their constituents. Nobody was going to say, oh, my God, you supported 9/11 heroes who got sick. So no, anything they've said just doesn't hold water with us. And, they got to live with that, and I'm all right with it. Listen, we got a bill passed in 2005, 2010, 2011, 2015, and we're going to get another one passed tomorrow in 2019. So the scorecard says Feel Good Foundation 5, Congress and Senate 0. I'm all right with that.
And you should be. Last question. A lot of people put a face to this when they saw Luis Alvarez testify in great pain here before his passing. We've lost more as well. Kevin Nolan, Richard Driscoll have died recently as well, and too many others to count. On the positive side, what is this going to mean for the people who don't have to worry anymore, who don't have that uncertainty about how their families are going to try and scrape together the money to get the care that they need? Talk about what this is going to mean for the survivors.
Yeah. Well, let me say, since Louis died, which was devastating, and while I haven't cried like that since Ray passed away 2 years ago, Ray Pfeiffer, we've lost 18 people since Louis died 24 days ago, 18. This bill, when it gets passed tomorrow, it's not going to stop anybody from getting sick. It's not going to stop anybody from dying. But what it's going to do, what it's made to do on its merits, is to offer the financial relief and compensation from those who are financially burdened when they lose a loved one. Tens of thousands of people are going to get the financial help they got because they can no longer work because of their illnesses, because of their heroic actions, or because they worked at the Pentagon or Shanksville or lived in Lower Manhattan. The 12 schools that were in the geographic map of all those kids that went to school that are now sick. We're going to help a lot of people. And, I told my team of 40 people that I'm taking tonight when we get into D.C. tomorrow morning, enjoy the moment, savor the moment, because the 24-hour news cycle is going to forget about you the next day when Robert Mueller testifies, and rightfully so. We're breaking news tomorrow, but the next day we'll be gone. And I hope our legacy is that selfless men and women, uniform and non-uniform, went to D.C. for 15 years for tens of thousands of people that couldn't. And we took the fight to the doorsteps of Congress, who works for us. Anybody out there who has a cause that they believe in, your first thing that you got to remember is Congress and the Senate work for us. The chairs that they sit in, the pens that they use, the chairs that they sit on, the desks that they use, the pens that they write on, use to write on pads, everything belongs to the taxpayers, and they work for us. And as soon as people come to terms with that, you can make Congress and the Senate work for you. And grassroots activism works, and we're proving that. The process works, and while sometimes it's ugly, it works.
Well, John, a very precious few of us actually get to work on a righteous cause, and even fewer actually get to see that cause come to fruition. Your team of 40, and it's not just this year, but for many, many years, have had to do an uphill fight here that you shouldn't have had to do, but nonetheless, tomorrow, our best wishes, and I think the votes as well are going to be there for you. A job well done. Thank you for your time.
Well, so, you know, I want to thank you guys, too, because it's been the media who's been our sword. So I want to thank you guys all, too, because, you know, you guys kept continuing to tell our story, and that put pressure on so many elected officials. It got the American people who supported us to write emails and tweet and make phone calls to elected officials around the country. And without the help of the media and Jon Stewart, you know, it took a village, and you're part of that village, so I thank you.
Thanks again. John Feal. When we come back, everyone, we are less than 48 hours from what John just referenced, what will dominate the news cycle. Robert Mueller. He's going to get grilled by 2 different congressional committees. After the break, we'll speak with one of the members of Bill Clinton's legal team during his own impeachment battle.